One of the most common questions asked was how long has hypnosis been approved or used by the church? Now, formal decree was issued in regard to using hypnosis in 1847 from the Sacred Congregation of the Holy Office. The Holy See stated, having removed all misconceptions, foretelling of the future, explicit or implicit invocation of the devil, the use of hypnosis is indeed merely an act of making use of physical media that are otherwise licit, and hence it is not morally forbidden, provided it does not tend toward an illicit end or towards anything depraved. So really, I suppose if we think about it, that has to do with anything. I mean, our bats, or chairs, or a bottle of wine, are any of those things in and of themselves immoral, or depraved, or illicit? Absolutely not. But they could most certainly be used in such a fashion. Now, how someone might use a bat, a chair, and a bottle of wine all at the same time be depraved is an entirely different session, okay? All right. Now, there was a couple of priests in the 18th century, and obviously all of you here are certified hypnotists, so you have heard of a couple of Roman Catholic priests that use hypnotic procedures, and they gained quite reputations as healers. And of course, one of them was Father Gassner. Now, Father Gassner was somewhat theatrical. He would have the patient, sit in a chair, and they'd leave them there in the room, and that tension, that energy would build up, and he'd come sweeping in, with a giant crucifix, and basically bang them over the forehead, and they'd be healed, and they'd drop into this hypnotic state, and they would arise, praising God for their healing. Now, we all know that hypnosis is self-hypnosis, so these people obviously really wanted to be healed. He helped facilitate that. Now, another priest, curious name, we always joke about it, Father Maximilian Hell, used hypnotonic techniques. Now, he also used the metal plates because he also had studied magnetism, and he believed that the illness occurred when the magnetism in the body was out of polarization. And I think today we refer to that about, are we focused? Are we balanced? Are we centered? So, his suggestions and the passes of metal plates seem to have this healing and curing effect of people that he worked with. But again, a lot of it was the autosuggestion and the hypnotic techniques that we use today. Now, 1847 was a long time ago. All right, so let's come up into the previous century. The late Pope Pius gave his approval of the use of hypnosis. Now, he stated that the use of hypnosis by healthcare professionals for diagnosis and treatment is permitted. In 1956, an address from the Vatican on hypnosis and childbirth, the Pope gave these guidelines. Hypnotism is a serious matter and not something to be dabbled in, and I think all of us as professionals would agree with that. In its scientific use, the precautions dictated by both science and morality are to be used. Under the aspects of anesthesia, it is governed by the same principles as other forms of anesthesia. This is to say that the rules of good medicine apply to the use of hypnosis. Now, I don't really think that varies too much from what the AMA today says about any therapeutic technique, be it physical therapy, anesthesia, how it's administered. It all has to be done ethically and with the patient's best interest in mind. Now, here's one of those $64,000 questions. Will my church have a problem with hypnosis? Now, I have done a lot of research with different faith groups, and a lot of the information that I have gathered, I have been able to gain from the special interest group within the NGH. Some years ago, there was the Association for Clergy Hypnotists, and they merged with the NGH as a special interest group. So you have clergy and chaplains who have been using hypnosis for many, many years. So based on the research that I've done with those special interest groups and my own research, I found with the exclusion of Christian Science and Seventh-day Adventists, most other religions will not oppose or will even support the use of hypnosis for helping people. This is going to include a majority of your Protestant, Orthodox churches, Catholic, Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, Shintoism, yoga, and even Muslim religions. So for the exceptions noted, no other Protestant or Orthodox churches have any laws per se against the proper ethical use of hypnosis. So to the best of my knowledge, there's been no opposition to the use of hypnosis in the Jewish faith when it's used for the benefit of mankind. And if any of you have studied any of the Eastern faiths, such as Buddhism, yoga, Shintoism, Hinduism, they're already using a form of meditation and hypnosis in their worship. And even with the limited exposure, I'll admit I am not an expert on the Quran, but from different Muslim clerics I was able to speak with, there was no strict forbidding of the use of hypnosis in the Muslim laws. So you have a pretty wide open opportunity. I saw some heads, nodding there in the back, especially in the Eastern religions, are like, oh, yeah, hypnosis, great, no problem. So, but, we are here in America, in a very westernized culture, so a lot of people have those misconceptions. And not to paint a broad brushstroke, but a lot of time it will be someone that is of a more Christian, conservative Christian background that is going to have a greater fear about the use of hypnosis than, say, someone from an Eastern religion.